Hey everyone, this is Craig Ries with Hollywood Junket, and we are interviewing another contestant from this season's The Voice, season 21 of The Voice. His name is Peedy Chavis. He's on Team Blake, and congratulations, Peedy. How's it going?
Fantastic. Thank you so much for the great introduction. Doing
Well, thank you. It's so exciting, and man, your performance was awesome. Like, how did it feel, like getting on that stage, and just tell me everything that was going on in your mind?
Absolutely. Well, in the moment, I was extremely nervous. I remember being backstage and I was just like, I've never had that kind of intensity before where it was like, it wasn't like a set where, like gigs I've done where I can, be comfortable with the audience and, get to know them well and kind of do songs and see what they're liking and stuff like that. It was more like you got one shot, and if you mess up at all, I mean, it's you got to be perfect. It's very nerve wracking in that sense. But once I got up on that stage and once the music started, I had this confidence in me that just kind of came out, which was really awesome. And John turned around pretty quick, so it was cool because that really gave me the confidence that I needed throughout the performance because he turned around and then I was like, okay, let's just give it to him now. And then by that time, we had the audience, I had the audience and everything. So it was just, it was insane. I mean, there's no other way to describe it, but just absolute surreal. But, I was more than thankful that Blake and John turned around, and I'm so thankful that I'm on Team Blake right now.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of mentioned it with like John turning first, like in your head while you're performing, are you just waiting for that first chair turn? Like, or are you just focused on performing? Like, what really is going on?
Well, if I guess I could put it two ways. If I was giving someone advice, I would be like, focus on the music. But when you're in the moment, it's a lot easier said than done because
Yeah.
you're looking at them. You just see back of chairs and their names there. But it's very, very intimidating. But John turned around probably like 5 seconds in the song. So
Right.
I didn't at time on stage where they weren't already engaged to kind of really feel that nerve. But being walking on stage and just seeing the audience and just the whole thing of it, it was extremely nerve-wracking. But right when John turned around, he was 5 seconds in, turns around, and then I was like, all right, now that's when I really focused on the music, and I was in it at that point. I barely noticed that Blake turned. I saw it out of the corner of my eye and I was like, oh, yep, there he is. But I was, by that time in the song, I was so like involved with the music that it was kind of hard. You could probably shoot me with a gun or something, I wouldn't notice on stage.
Well, you are Team Blake. Was that the artist or the coach that you wanted? Or let's say all of them turned, who were you kind of like leaning towards?
Well, I always really thought that Kelly would be a good choice just because she has this great singing big voice, and she's been on the show like Blake for a while. But honestly, it was really between the two of them, on it, Blake and Kelly. I had the same thought in my head, and what I also understood, even though that me and Blake don't sing basically the same music, he was inspired by that music as well, and he knows it very well. He knows, the history of Sun Records and the 1950s of the Louisiana Hayride and all those, in the early 60s and all that rock and roll music that has changed pop music forever and is still affecting young people today. And I think that he resonated with that, and he really understood what kind of music I wanted to portray to people, and what music that I really wanted to make people listen to. And he kind of said that in his and when he was talking to me in the blind audition, and that's what me and him, it just felt like he was resonating with me. But John, talking about John though, he was really cool because I feel like he understands the music just as well, because all those guys at that time and the 70s for that matter as well. I think soul music and rock music, he really understood that as well. But I was a hair close to picking John. Like, I mean, I could have went either way. I couldn't have gone wrong. They're both phenomenal, but there was something resonating with Blake, and I knew it was just a gut feeling. I had to choose him.
That's awesome. That kind of opens up a few questions that I have. So let's start with this one. It was really cool to hear that Blake knew the guy that wrote Heartbreak Hotel.
Right.
Since working with Blake, have you learned any other like surprises or anything like that that you've taken away or that you didn't know?
Right. It's funny. It's he very he definitely like I was going back to saying about like he knew the guy that wrote Heartbreak Hotel, and he also I mean we were talking one time and he started he's talking about the Louisiana hayride of the 1950s, and I was like that particular kind of the concert they were doing at that time and in the 50s, it was crazy because they would have all these kind of young artists like Johnny Cash, Elvis, and like they haven't made it yet. It was like whatever in their careers, and this was kind of like the next threshold for them. It was like you're going to be to them it was like shown all over the East, and you were going to drive around and perform at all these spots. And it kind of reminded me of The Voice a little bit because it's kind of that next threshold that you have to get, and we talked about that, and it was really funny. But he knows, like, it was cool to have that conversation with him because he knows all those guys that were on that show, like Hank Snow and Carl Perkins and all those guys. He knew all those names, all those songs and stuff. And to be completely honest, I haven't met a lot of people in my life, especially my age, pretty much no one, that I've been able to have those conversations with. So to have a coach that really resonates with that and really understands it has been probably the coolest thing ever.
Yeah. I love your passion for these classic songs. Like, who kind of got into it, or did you just do it on your own? Or
Well, when I was really young, my mom showed me Elvis when I was a very young child. I was probably like 3 or 4 years old at the time. And I do remember just being glued to the screen or whatever. But as I grew up, probably during middle school, everybody got phones, at that time, and YouTube was like kind of really kind of going off at that time. And my favorite type of music is, of course, that music. But my favorite type of music is 70s music, in any genre of the 70s,
okay.
Folk music in the 70s. Soul music was absolutely insanely wonderful at that time. Rock and roll was at the top of its game, and even country music was really, really great at that time. And when I was in middle school, I remember like just going on rabbit holes on YouTube of all these songs and making playlists and stuff like that. And that's what really exposed me to music in general. Because I would be at school and somebody would be like, oh, at the time, like Pitbull just released whatever. And I'm like, I wasn't interested in that kind of stuff. And I remember being in the car and, listening to the radio, and I didn't like any of the songs. And I would just be like, maybe I just don't like music. And then, I was like, but I know I do because I love Elvis and that kind of stuff. And then when I dove deep into the 70s and the 80s and 60s and everything, it was like, okay, this is music. Like, this is what needs to be heard. This is what needs to be mainstream. This is what needs to be, everybody needs to be listening. And that's what really exposed me to really wanting to do this for the rest of my life and having a passion for this that I can't feel any other way about,
Yeah, that's awesome. I cannot wait to see more of you. I was gonna ask what classic songs are you gonna, or would you like to perform, but let's not limit to just that genre. What songs would you like to perform moving forward?
Well, there's a lot of songs that I would love to perform. Sarah Smile, a Hall & Oates song, just, probably just me and my guitar. I would just love it to just really just be very intimate, and just kind of let the audience see me in a different light, because now they have this Elvis connotation, and that's great and all, but
yes, it's not bad.
Not
Yeah.
I'm not Elvis, I'm Peedy. And I like my own music, and I like playing a lot of different music. I felt Elvis was a good choice because it's what brought me into music, and I thought that is what should put me into the next threshold too. just kind of reversing that cycle. But going back what you were saying, I would love to perform Sarah Smile. I would love to perform What's Going On by Marvin Gaye.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
There's a lot of good songs. I would love to perform any CCR, Creedence Clearwater Revival songs. I would love to throw a doo-wop song in there, like Dion or something. Run Around Sue. But there's a lot of good material that I think I could choose from. There's just a lot of good stuff, and I'm looking forward to picking some songs that people will really, really like and really see me in a different light and really probably truly understand my artistry in its total, because they've only seen a glimpse.
Right. And actually, that's a perfect segue to my next question. Ariana kind of mentioned like she wants to hear more of Peedy. Like how do you do that? And like, what did you do moving forward in the battles to really do that?
Well, I think that especially like what she said about that, I completely understood. I knew that like there's a certain point in my voice, especially in the lower register, where I can have Elvis tendencies, just because when you grow up on that, you love to sing, and you grow up on a singer that's so unique and a style of singing that you kind of start, it kind of starts rubbing off on you, even if you don't try to. And that's kind of what happened to me when I was a kid. But, as I've grown up, I've kind of grown out of it a little bit, but still when I get in my lower register, it comes out a little bit. So I understood what she was saying, but also I felt like I put a little bit of me in it, but I do need to put more me in it. And I think that's what I'm going to do moving forward is, picking some of the songs that I've said and really showing people that this is me. And, I can do all kinds of stuff. And I'm really excited to really just sit down there with my guitar and, not have all the chaos that, people love, but, we'll do big songs like that too. But, to really just sit down and just really sing a song, very simple. I think there's a lot of beauty in the simplicity of just a nice, simple song that people can relate to, and, just a good voice.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just like, you just got to get through that first audition,
Right.
And you can like really do you. And it sounds like that's your plan. And I think that's
right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. It's, I'm excited.
Yeah. Final question, Peedy. How was it working with Dirks, and what did you take away most from working with him?
Dirks was fantastic. I remember I remember as a very early child listening to the radio in the car. I never really liked any of the songs, but there was one I remember. I was like, maybe I was pretty young, 7, 8 probably, and my mom would always play this song. It was like 5150, somebody call the po-po. And I was like, I would just remember that like little thing in my head. And that's Dirks Bentley, and those are his kind of songs and stuff. My mom loved him, so did my dad. And walking in that room and he's just sitting right there, it was like, whoa, it's kind of crazy when you see they're like right there in front of your face. It almost looks like they're wax figures. I think it's kind of funny, but when you walk in, you see like a celebrity like that, they don't even look real. Like they really don't look real to me. But he said some great stuff too. I mean, he was even talking about the Louisiana hayride as well. That was the same conversation I was having with Blake that Dirks hopped in on. He was like, I cannot believe you know that stuff, dude. And we had a good conversation about that. But he really just told me to just channel that, channel those guys that that were back then, and just really give it to this new generation, because he was like, we need it right now, and there's not a lot, there's pretty much no one doing it out there. Yeah. So I think that it's really going to touch people, and it's really going to get the message across. And I just can't wait to get up on that stage and just do the thing,
I completely agree. I'm so excited for you to be on the show. I think you're bringing a whole new energy, and I just think it's great. So congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Well, we'll wrap it up. But Peedy, this is early on in the season. I would love to see you move forward, and hopefully we'll be talking to you again soon as you get closer to the finals. Let's just say that, you know.
Thank you so much. I fingers crossed. Hope so.
Regardless, congratulations, and it's just great to see you on that screen. And great job. Thank you.
Thank you. Nice
You're
to meet
welcome.
you.
Thank you for joining us. Hey guys, again, this was Peedy Chavis. He's on Team Blake. Please vote for him when it goes forward to those times. And yeah, we got a lot more interviews coming up. This is Craig Ries of Hollywood Junket. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Peedy, thank you again.
Thank you.